notice that I am dressed in blue. And on occasions like this, especially when I'm addressing students from my area, I love to dress in blue. And I'm identifying with you today because you too, you are in blue. But there is a more important reason why I'm in blue. Blue is the color of my school, the Vieux-Fort Senior Secondary School, just next door to you. But whenever I speak about my school, I'm always emotional. I love my school. Believe it or not, I went to that school 52 years ago. So just look at me, and you can imagine my age. Don't say that too loud. But I have so much to thank my school for. You see, that school helped me to be who I am today. And I'll tell you why. The school afforded me the opportunity to become a leader. It gave me an opportunity to discover my skills. I was the head prefect of that school for several years. When I joined the Cadet Corps, as one of those who was responsible for the students who were cadets. And that school inspired me, encouraged me to love knowledge, to seek information, and to go beyond the boundaries of that school. But in later years, I grew to love the teachers whom I interacted with. Now, some of them gave me a hard time. Of course, I did things to deserve a hard time, but I have come to appreciate what they tried to do for me, to shape me and to make me. And even those I may have harbored ill will towards in later years, I grew to appreciate the wisdom of their methods, the wisdom of their teaching, and the incredible passion they had for equipping us for the world that lay ahead. So from these early days, I knew your school. I remember what it looked like when it first started. And there's something about your school that is so unique. This has always been a school of character. This has always been a school of excellence. And I think you probably will ask, well, how can you say that? You're not in the school every day. You don't see what the teachers do. It is true I can judge you by your reputation, but there's something else you do that always impresses me. When I have the opportunity to be walking around this area, quite often I meet some of you after school. And the character radiates. You always greet me with respect. Good afternoon, sir. Then I would begin to ask you about your school. Did you have a good day? Did you do enjoyable things at school? You're always warm, pleasant. You're always dignified. Does it mean a lot? Yes, it does. Because I can walk the length and breadth of this country, interact with students from different schools, and just by sharing things with them, asking them questions, watching how they respond, I can tell you whether the right things are being done at the school. Believe you me, respect is a cornerstone. If you learn respect, understand respect, whether from your home and by extension your school, then one of the foundations of success is being laid. I have always admired the way you, in turn, have lived by respect and extended that respect. And I think the people whom we have to thank are your teachers and your parents. Mrs. Sammy and her staff are doing a wonderful job at this school. And as I watch you this afternoon, the shared joy, the respect, the response to your chairperson, I think you have impressed all of us, because then the behavior that I spoke of, the character that I spoke of, is so evident. It radiates. But there's another message that I have for you today that I just want to share with you just for a few minutes. I want to tell you that each and every one of you graduating today can be great. You can be a great person. You can be a phenomenal person. And so much will depend on what you choose to do in later life. Being great is not about doing spectacular things, but you can be great in the gentlest of ways. And being great means that you do something not just for yourself, but for your parents, not just for your country, but doing something for humanity, for the world, so that you define the entire world. And there are so many examples that can tell you about greatness. Do you know that the greatest leader the world has ever seen, the greatest teacher the world has ever known, was Jesus Christ? Amen. Why? When you read the Bible and you look at how Jesus taught the multitudes of those who stood before him, the way he approached the lessons of life, those are techniques that every teacher ought to learn, because Jesus used very simple examples to excite the imagination of his followers. But he also understood sacrifice, because all of you know that for the philosophy he shared, the beliefs that he shared with us, the redemption that he sought for us, he paid the ultimate price in crucifixion. So there you have a living teacher, a leader, the greatest this world has ever seen. But then you can be a great leader by the simplest of ways. Look at somebody like Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa of India. How did she become great? She decided to lend her skills to look after the poor, the distressed, those who were victims of violence, those who were ill, those who could not afford health care, those who had no homes, those who did not know where the other meal was coming from. She was a champion for humanity. And the lesson is that we too can be great, you too can be great if you dedicate your life to looking after other people. What it is in your heart and soul that will make you dedicate your life to look after other persons, I don't know. It's a mystery, even to me sometimes. But I know that a life in the service of others can bring you glory. Then you do not have to be great by preaching violence and war, by showing that you are a military leader and you have an ability to destroy. You can be a great leader by simply being a peacemaker. And the world is replete in examples. I'll give you two. Mahatma Gandhi of India. Mahatma Gandhi freed his country of the control of the colonial power, the United Kingdom, by preaching peace and by seeking to use peace as a method of civil disobedience to show that he wanted his freedom. And in later years, there was another leader who used peace to bring to his people the rights that they had been denied for years. I'm referring to Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was both a pastor and a leader of civil disobedience. Today, black people in the United States walk tall, walk proud, are dignified because of the leadership of example of Martin Luther King, who used the methods that Mahatma Gandhi taught him. And we all look at our television and watch Barack Obama, the President of the United States, the first black president. And whether Barack Obama is distinguished in our eyes, whether he will go down in history as one of the greatest presidents, I'll tell you one thing, he will go down in history as the first black president of the United States. The way was prepared for him by Martin Luther King. And just go further afield. You can be a nurse and become a great leader in the nursing profession. You may not know this name. Some of you may have read far and wide. A Jamaican nurse called Mary Seacole. She came from Jamaica. In those days, Jamaica was a colony of England. But by her example of looking after those who were injured in wartime, providing comfort for them, she became one of the most respected and outstanding nurses throughout the entire world. When the nursing profession speaks of leadership of distinguished nurses, the name of Mary Seacole resonates. I share this with you because you can be great in whatever profession that you choose. Greatness is not defined by specialized professions. It is what you do in your chosen field. And let us look at our own country. All of us have opinions about who is great in this country, who's not great. I'm not going to enter that debate. That is a matter for you in your reflection. All I know is this. When it's your turn, I want you to be great. I want you to change this country like others who have gone before you. And look at some people who have changed this country in simple ways. You know, today I'm thinking of someone like Cécile Descartes, a folklorist. The sweetness of her voice, the beauty of her music, the ability to capture the souls of our people, translate it into music. She was knighted by the Queen and became Dame Cécile Descartes. She joined and isolated a small number of women throughout the world who were given knighthoods. And those of you who are in athletics, in sports, we have Darren Sammy. Darren Sammy, a simple young man, by the sheer class of his character, the excellence of his skills in cricket, Darren rose to become not just captain of St. Lucia, but West Indies captain. And he did the entire region proud because Darren Sammy was the last West Indian captain to have won for the West Indies the crown in cricket in 2012. He was great in his field. You don't have always to be strong, healthy, to be great, although you need to be because you have to look after your health. And you have to start now. And one of the things I need to tell you is this, that you've got to start to look after yourself, who you are today. People like me made a lot of mistakes growing up because we were not told how to care for ourselves and our bodies to prepare for the future. So for example, we now know having too many soft drinks is dangerous for you because it prepares you for all kinds of illnesses. And so many of our people have been struck by diabetes, etc. But the example that I want to give you is somebody who's very strange and unique. And he is great in his field. His name is Professor Stephen Hawking. He's a paraplegic. He's attached to a wheelchair. He cannot speak, yet he is a distinguished professor at the University of Oxford in England. He had to create a special vocabulary, a special system of language so that others could understand what he's saying. Yet today, he is one of the most brilliant and outstanding scientists in the world. He was great despite his limitations. And I really want to tell you, never treat your limitations as if it is impossible for you to do great. You can become great even with your limitations. And of course, there are solutions you celebrate too. Look at our Honorable Derek Walcott, our Nobel laureate, known throughout the world for the sheer beauty of his poetry. You are on your journey to greatness. And I want to believe that you can be phenomenal. Yes, you can be incredible, and you can be great. But there's one thing I just want to tell the parents before I yield. Sometimes we parents, we cause harm to our children. When our children come to us and say, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a surgeon, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a physicist. You know what you do? Child, where you go get the money for me? Where you go get the money to do that? I don't have the money to send you to school for these things to happen. That is a fundamental mistake. Two things you never choose for your children. Let them have the freedom to make the decision what it is that they want to do in later life. Why? Because children discover excellence in what they love to do best. Learning becomes so much easier, so much more meaningful, so powerful, if your children have a passion for what they want to do. And you must never say never. Never discourage your child by telling your child you have no money, it's not possible. Why? Because when you do that, you blunt the possibilities of ambition in your child. You have no idea whether your child will become so brilliant that that child will survive in later years just by education and by the brilliance of performance. Why do I tell you this? It's really to tell you a little personal story. Some of it I've said before to some persons, and each time I add a little bit to it. I never had the chance to go to an A-level college. Never. I graduated with O-levels, what you call CXCs. My father had the money, but did not see it fit to invest in sending me to do A-levels. Of course, I had to turn to my mother, who too had a fascination for education. But what she did was to create the environment, and throughout my entire life, I have survived on scholarships alone to get a university education. The mind. And she never ever once discouraged me. And then when we would have discussions about what profession you'd like to choose, and she would ask me, and as she would ask her other children, I would tell her, I'm going to be a politician. Now that's strange, because I suspect if any of you go and tell your parents you want to be a politician, they're going to ask you whether you're out of your mind. But you don't worry, I'll tell you this. There is honor and dignity and character in any and every profession that you choose. It is how you manage it. It is what you make of it. It is whether you're going to be the difference. She never, ever discouraged me for once. Of course, after I left school, I went on to do other things until eventually I ended up where I am today. And the lesson is this. Parents, excite the imagination of your children. Help them to live their dreams. Never discourage them. Give them time, let them come to terms with what they wish to be. Let them be. And I assure you, if you let them be, you will discover the excellence and the beauty that lies within. Tell them that they can change the world just like others before them have changed the world. I wish you all the best in your new school. And by the way, I have very bad habits. Those of you whose performances were outstanding, I'll be keeping an eye on you. Take care. God bless. All the best.